milk.
No, man. I want to see what this is all about. If it's truly good, I should be able to drink it black, right?
I think so.
If this is as life-changing as you say it is.
It's good.
Oh, so now you're backing down.
No, it's good.
How good it is.
This is my second cup. It's
Okay.
freaking good. He'll tell you, he's been here a bunch of times. I don't play around with my coffee.
I hear you.
He didn't bring out his Cuban coffee, though. That stuff's like cocaine.
Oh, this is strong.
Yeah, it's strong for sure.
Yeah, you're not messing
This
around.
is also recording. So
Okay, yeah, we're good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, snap. Oh, shit. We're back in studio or my apartment. We're back in my apartment. And, but before we get started, I want to do a quick call to action. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a review. And thank you so much for listening. My guest today, this is an exciting one for me. I'm not going to lie. All right? Because I'm a huge fan of mixed martial arts. I train jiu-jitsu. And this guy, he is a sports psychologist. And I had to call in a lot of favors for this one. I had to do a lot of sucking up to get this guy here. Marc Stevens, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Danalysis podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. I know we've been corresponding via an email. And your wife, who works with me at my day job. So how'd you get into the field of sports psychology?
Sports psych. So I went from Indiana.
Okay.
I went to Ball State.
Explains why you're wearing a Colts cap.
Correct. Yeah, Colts. Got to represent always. Few and far between down here.
Until they got rid of Peyton Manning, fucking assholes.
Yeah, but then you roll right into Andrew Luck.
And who quit early because of
you know what?
CTE.
Was it?
That's what he said.
Is it? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was like, I like my brain.
Well, he's a really smart dude. He went to Stanford.
Oh, for sure.
Really smart. And he just, you know what? He decided
also a little
to
bit
have
of a pussy.
Dude, that guy was tough. You
Too
calling
tough.
him out. You're calling him out.
I'm a
Give him
comic.
break.
I'm talking shit.
Yeah, you're talking shit, man.
I'm
Come
talking
on.
shit.
All right. So, went to Indiana, or I was from Indiana. Went to Ball State University.
Okay.
For undergrad in sport administration. So, like the business side of sport.
Okay.
And, man, junior year, actually summer after my junior year, we had to do these internships to graduate. And so I had probably just gotten into MMA, like the UFC, like maybe a year or two prior. I think the first UFC I ever bought was in UFC 94. It was GSP BJ Penn 2.
Oh, classic
Watching it in my apartment.
Classic fight.
Well, I think it was the main card, but one of the first fights was John Jones, Stephan Bonner.
Oh, that's old school, dude.
Old. Yeah.
That's when they still had sponsors on their shorts.
Oh, for sure. So I was like, man, I like this John Jones guy. And so fast forward to after my junior year, I'm like emailing all these MMA camps, like American Top Team, Jackson Wink in Albuquerque. The Brazil, what is it? The Black Zillions.
Black Zillions.
All these
Black
teams.
House, yeah.
All these teams. So the only person who responded was the general manager for Jackson Winklejohn.
Interesting.
He was like, "So you want to come and work for free?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got to. I need the experience. Like, I want to come and see what's all about. Like, I'm really interested in this." So I went down and worked there for that summer under his name's Ricky Cottonsteady. He's just a great mentor of mine. Worked for the summer and helped him like start up his own little like side show. Under the UFC, it was really like a funnel system into the to UFC. And then I went back, had to do my senior year of college, and that fall semester I took a sports psychology class. I don't know why it was required for a business degree, basically, but sports psych, it was interesting. I think it was a little experiment by the professor. He wanted to test like motivation.
Okay.
By just saying attendance is not mandatory, like it's voluntary. Like you don't have to come, but like if you're gonna come, like it's probably gonna be beneficial for you. I don't know what it was about that, because normally I don't know if like college means voluntary attendance is. I'm probably not going to class. Like, let's just be real. Especially if it's an early class. for whatever reason, that, like, I was so motivated to go to class. It was so interesting what this guy was talking about. He's working with golfers, working with, like, high-level people on the mental side of performance. I was like, where has this been my whole life? This is a field of, like, study. So after the course, like, I mean, I went every day, like, or went every class, and I'm like, hey, how do I go do this? Like, this is what I'm interested in. I love this way more than I like the business side of things. So he's like, well, start reading books. So I bought Mind Gym, right?
Okay.
You know, I bought some other books, and he's like, go to grad school. Okay. So that's what I'll do. So I applied to the University of Tennessee. I got in for
Some might
sports
say
psychology.
that's the real UT.
The other orange.
The other orange.
The other orange, the other UT.
The other UT.
Yeah. So I went back to Albuquerque after I graduated. So, you know, I'm going to work during the summer. And so then I started really, like, talking to guys about the mental side. So not just the business side of getting sponsors and stuff. Like, that's what I was still doing. I was calling companies, and it was brutal, man. I made zero money.
Sales suck.
It was terrible, and I'm not good at it. And
No.
I'm not going to lie, I just wasn't good. I felt really bad because I was like, I can barely get you guys money for this. And then when I do get a sponsorship, I have to, like, track these companies down to get payment. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. So, but what was interesting, I started talking to guys about the mental side, just interviewing, because I didn't have any experience on that at the point. So I'm, like, interviewing, you know, just in, like, the office with my laptop, typing up questions and, like, hey, Carlos Condit, like, what do you think about the mental side, and where do you think your energy needs to be? And talking to Cowboy Cerrone about doing some imagery, like, all these, like, I started gathering information. And, like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then I actually took a whole year off. And I was like, you know, I just want to work. I just want to be out here and be around these people because it's so cool. And got not only worked, but, you know, I enjoyed myself as well. Like, being around fighters is a fun time. In Albuquerque, they are
rock stars.
They're rock stars in Albuquerque. So I got to enjoy some of that as well. And then I went to grad school, got my master's, came back, did some side work with them, and then I got a job here at Fort Hood.
Really?
Working with the military on the mental side of performance. Yeah.
That's an interesting like arc for your career so
It's-
far.
Yes.
But okay, so what about the psychology of sport and performance really attracted you?
I think of how much control we have of the mental side. Like, I always thought of, like, you either have it that day or you don't.
Okay.
You know? Like, you can be physically gifted, you know, you can, like, know the game plan, but then, like, if I'm feeling it, then I'm going to go perform well. But if I'm not feeling it, then it means I'm going to perform poorly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what really stood out to me was that there's mental skills that you can do to make more of those, like, when you're feeling it, and even perform well when you're not technically feeling it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the basketball playoffs are going on right now. I have so many stories
Go Heat.
that they'll talk. No, man.
Yeah, we're gonna have problems.
Yeah, we're gonna have problems. It's okay. It's okay. So many times, if you can just Google, like, player talks about bad warm up, ends up with, like, 45.
Yeah.
Like, it just because your warm up is not great doesn't mean you're not gonna perform well. You know, and I think that's just something that, like, stands out to me. I was like, whoa, like, so how does that work? Like, because normally we think, oh, yeah, I need to feel well to perform well, and it's not necessarily the case. Like, I'm not always going to feel well, and, like, you can do things that can overcome that.
That's interesting you say that, because so far in my, I've competed in jiu-jitsu. I do stand up on a regular basis, and some of the best sets I've had, it feels like my routine of getting ready was always disrupted, right? Let it be the owner wants to have a conversation, a comic dropped out, I got bumped, and then I'm just like, I went from, like, oh, here goes me going through a set list and just running through it in my head, and my one drink, my one cigarette, and then I'm like, okay, time to go on stage. I did my routine. Now it's like all that's just got thrown out the window. Now you just have to be a professional and just go.
Just go do it.
Yeah. So what makes such high-level guys like Cerrone, Condon, John Jones, what sets them apart from the journeyman?
Well, one is skill level.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, like you can't, like, yes, the mental side is important, but you actually, like, you really have to be really good. Mm-hmm. And those guys are, I mean, they're killers. Like, they're insane. And then to be able to rise to the occasion. Like, anyone can perform, not necessarily, but anyone can perform well in practice.
Of course.
But when the lights come on and you have to, like, you're put to the test, like, you know, everything.
When it gets real.
Yeah, when it gets real, like, can you still perform at that level? And to be able to flip a switch, and because everyone has, like, those butterflies, like, that's a normal fight or flight response. Mm-hmm. To feel nervous, to feel some fear, but to be able to, like, lean into it and, like, embrace it and just go, like, kind of like full send, you know, just go. Mm-hmm. That is what helps people actually, like, perform at their highest ability. Like, they embrace it. Like, I could tell, like, so John Jones, when he started walking, I remember the walkout to the Shogun fight.
Okay.
The championship fight. If you watch that walkout alone, he's just, like, taking it in. He's taking the experience in. And that was, like, well, new into sports psychology. I was like, whoa, this is different than what normal people, it seems like they're, like, trying to pump themselves up, or they're, like, just ultra focused. But I just saw John, who's, like, at the top, just, you know what, like, I'm embracing this, and I'm, like, stepping into this fire, and I'm like, let's go. What do you got? And just the peace, like, I think that can come with that attitude helps him and, like, a lot of top performers, like, perform at their best. That fear actually is driving their top performance. It's not a bad thing.
That's interesting you say that, because I've driven God knows how far to go perform stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. And the entire ride there, I'm like, I am not about to drive 5 hours to fucking bomb on stage. Like, I'm not about to go. Yeah. Like, I'll bomb on stage all over Austin. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. But it's like, if I'm going to go to Corpus Christi, if I'm going to go to Springfield, Missouri, L.A., New York, it's like, this is an investment now. Like, I better show up, kill. And it's like, in my brain, and it's interesting you say that it's like, embrace. It's like, I embrace that little butterfly. I'm like, I'm nervous as shit right now, but y'all gonna feel me. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I mean, Ryan Holiday, you know, he's talks about the obstacle is the way. You know, Marcus Aurelius, like, the thing that, like everyone has that little voice in their head when you start getting uncomfortable, like, no, like, don't, like, that doesn't feel good. You need to step away. But actually stepping into it, that's where, like, the next level of performance is. That's where, like, I mean, really, like, meaning is. Because if you always get to that edge and then you back off, you're never going to reach anything.
So, what are some techniques that the best in the world implement on their day-to-day routine to help kind of mimic that feeling, let it be in practice, or... That's my dog. That's what happens when you record in an apartment. What are some of those techniques that happen, you know, in preparation for the big fight, the big performance, the big game, that the best in the world do to prep themselves for that? Like, example, Michael Jordan. I think he's, like, the biggest clutch player.
He's all right.
Shut the fuck. All right, this guy's Pacers. He's a Pacers fan. That's what it is.
Trust me, I, as a third grader, you know, betting my fellow third graders on, like, the Bulls versus the Pacers, and he's ripped my heart out so many times.
I'm a Heat fan. He's ripped my heart out too.
I have great respect for Michael Jordan. I love him.
Okay, well, let's go a little more contemporary.
No, I'm just kidding.
Kobe Bryant, right? That's another great, even worse.
Yeah,
I know, I get it. I hated everybody that used to say Kobe when playing in the freaking